Hi guys, today we are going to solve equations with fractions and decimals. So you know how to solve equations. If you don't, go and watch that video to learn how to solve equations. But the easiest way to solve equations, especially with fractions, is to get rid of the denominator first. So we're going to learn how to get rid of the denominator by multiplying through by the least common multiple. And you'll see that it's easier that way. So the first one is w minus 2/5 equals 8/5. So we have w minus 2/5 equals 8/5. Here it's quite easy because we have a denominator of 5 on both of them. So I'm just going to multiply each term by 5. So I like to just put everything in little brackets, which means that I'm multiplying each thing by 5. So 5 times w is 5w. And then 5 times 2/5, well, this 5 will cancel out this other 5, so you're just left with 2, okay? Because 5 times 2/5 is just 2, and then same here, 5 times 8/5 is just 8, because this is in the numerator, that's in the denominator, so they cancel each other out, just leaving the numerators, okay? And that's why we did it anyway, is because we wanted to get rid of the denominators. So now we just have this simple equation. We know how to solve this. Again, if you need help solving equations, go and watch that video first. So what we're going to do to both sides, we're solving for w. We're going to add 2 to both sides. We get 5w equals 10. And then we're going to divide both sides by 5. So that's a bad w. W is going to equal 2. Okay, so here you go, w is going to equal 2. So that made it a whole lot easier when we got rid of the denominators. Then we don't have to do add, subtracting, denominators, fractions. You should know how to do that, but if we want to make it easier, it's okay to make things easier. So another one, 2x minus 1 equals 3/4 x plus 9. So in this case, our fraction is 3/4, the denominator is 4, so I'm going to multiply everything by 4. So I'm going to multiply everything by 4. So 4 times 2x is 8x. 4 times negative 1 is 4. It was negative 4, but we have the subtraction there. So 4 times 1 is 4, subtraction. Then we have our equal sign, 3/4 times 4. The denominator cancels each other out, so we're just left with 3x. And then 9 times 4 is 36. The only thing you got to be careful with here is you have to make sure to multiply each term by that 4, okay? Not just the 3/4 x or not just the 9. You have to multiply each term in that equation. And now we have a simple equation where we can solve. We get to get the variables on both sides first, so I'm going to subtract each 1 by 3x. So 5x minus 4 equals 36. Then we got to get the variable by itself. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. We have 5x equals 40. And then the last step is to divide both sides by 5 to get that x. So we get x is equal to 8. Okay? X is equal to 8. So again, once we multiplied through by that 4, it made it quite easy, and we have a simple solving equations with variables on both sides. Okay, let's do another one. One more here with fractions, and then we'll move on to decimals. So x divided by 3 plus 1 equals 5x over 6 minus 3. So in this case, we have 2 denominators. One is 3 and one is 6. So we can't just multiply through by one number, or it can't just multiply through by 3, or it can't just, because it wouldn't help that. So what you need to do is when you have 2 different denominators, you have to think of kind of like adding fractions where we have to have a common denominator. So you were saying, well, what is the common denominator between 3 and 6? Really what you're looking for is the least common multiple, right? So the least common multiple, or if we were to add fractions with a denominator of 3 and 6, we would make both their denominators 6, right? So we're going to multiply through by 6, okay? So how you're going to do this because this is 6 times x over 3. So really what you're doing first is you want to do 6 divided by 3, because 6 divided by 3 is 2, so we're just left with 2x, okay? Because we're simplifying that denominator. If you end up with a denominator, you've done something wrong, because we're trying to get rid of the denominators. So 6 divided by 3 is 2, and we're just left with 2x. And then 6 times 1 is 6. And then over here, you have that 6 divided by 6, which is 1. So you're just left with 5x. And then 6 times 3, which is 18. Okay? And the reason I'll show you here, x over 3 times 6, the reason why it's 2 is because when you multiply fractions, if you don't know how to multiply fractions, go and watch that video. You can cross reduce, and you're left with just 2x, okay? So that's the reason why I just got 2. But now, again, now we have no denominators, so that should be your goal, is to have no denominators. And now we're going to solve this. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides and get 6 is equal to 3x minus 18. And then I'm going to add 18 to both sides because I'm trying to isolate that x. You get 24 is equal to 3x. And then last step is we divide by 3. Divide by 3, x is going to equal 8, okay? So again, to get rid of the denominators, you need to multiply through by the least common multiple, which is the same thing that you're looking for when you're trying to find a common denominator, okay? Okay, let's do decimals. Okay, so let's do decimals, solving equations with decimals. So you're gonna do the exact same steps that you would when solving equations without decimals. So variables on both sides. So I want to get the variable on one side. So I am going to subtract 0.15x from both sides. So subtract 0.15x from both sides. You have to know how to add and subtract decimals. So in this case, 0.15x, this would be 0.25x. And then minus 1.2 is equal to just 0.8. Okay, 0.8. Now I need to get rid of that 1.2, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add 1.2 to both sides. So 0.25x is equal to 2. And then to solve for this, all I want to do is divide by 0.25. Divide by 0.25. And so x is going to equal 2 divided by 0.25 is 8. So with decimals, don't let them get you scared. You just solve it the exact same way that you solve an equation. Again, if you need a refresher, go and watch a solving equations video. And then you just do it. Awesome, guys. Hope you enjoyed that video of solving equations with fractions and decimals. And let me know if you have any other questions.